What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So lots of interesting stuff to go over this week. Now last week I mentioned how there was going to be a bunch of stuff going on in Tokyo, but that news hasn't broken yet as of the time of me filming this. So I will be covering all that next week with the Visor STI concept and all that kind of stuff. But this past week, the big news was CES was going on in Vegas, and so there's several different high-tech debuts. Some of it's kind of out there, other stuff is very practical. So first is that Sony revealed a car, the Vision S concept. And so, yeah, Sony actually has made a car, and it's kind of confusing. I'll elaborate more in a minute here. But first, they officially say this is just a showcase for their technology. But again, I'm not totally convinced. But first, the details here at this press conference. They didn't get specific on the mechanicals of this car. They just basically said it was electric and that they partnered with an automotive parts supplier, Magna Steyr, to develop this newly designed EV platform. So interesting, it's a platform. I'm guessing maybe part of the idea is they could sell this platform, kind of like how Volkswagen is licensing the MEB platform to Ford and stuff like that. But partnering with Magna Steyr is interesting because Magna Steyr, they're the people who build the cars that companies can't build at their own factories. So Magna Steyr builds the Supra for Toyota, the Z4 for BMW, and the G-Wagon for Mercedes, among other projects that they have. It's a massive company. And so Magna Steyr would actually have the capacity to build something like this if they wanted, or if some other company wanted to. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So the main stuff on this car that they wanted to focus on with Sony was it has 33 sensors, and the car has all these advanced driver assistance stuff to go along with that. And so it's a very advanced thing that includes radar, cameras, and solid-state LiDAR. It's much more advanced than what you got on a Tesla, for example, which do not use the LiDAR. There's also lots of large screens on the interior, and so that's all very futuristic. It also has, of course, a very good surround sound stereo because it is Sony after all, but no PlayStation was included. I'm personally a little bummed about that, but Autoblog did manage to get a lot of the specifics as far as the mechanicals from Sony, and so they revealed it has two electric motors that each do 268 horsepower and give the car all-wheel drive. They claim a 4.8 second 0 to 62 time and a top speed of 149 miles per hour. They even said it has an independent double wishbone front and rear suspension, along with air springs that can change the ride height by about a half an inch. It weighs 5,180 pounds, and all these details make me think there's more to this because there's a few other things they mentioned. Like in their press release, they say this is only the first prototype vehicle, meaning more are coming. So, they did mention in the press release that this platform could be adapted for SUVs and things like that. I don't understand. It's awesome. I really like the look of it and everything. It's just very confusing as to why they would go to the trouble of doing all this stuff if they weren't planning on building it, which is what they're currently saying, is that this is not a production vehicle or even something they're interested in. It's just to be like, hey, here's all the parts we can sell to random companies. But the fact that they partnered with Magna Steyr, which has the capacity to build the car, the fact that they took the time to hire designers to design an entire vehicle, which is not an easy job, and then not only that, but to engineer an entire suspension setup, engineer an entire new platform, an electric vehicle platform, something so expensive that even FCA can't do this, and that's why they've just been partnering up with Peugeot and Citroen and stuff. Like, that's what FCA is doing to try and get to this position, and Sony's already there. I don't know, how advanced this is, but they say it does drive, and theoretically it has all these performance numbers and stuff already. And so I don't know why they would spend all this money engineering an entire vehicle from the ground up, styling the vehicle, styling the interior of the vehicle, going to all this trouble, developing, like it even has a deployable rear spoiler, this air suspension, all this stuff, and then you're not going to build it? Like, if you're going to just do some crazy concept car, do something wild like Mercedes did. I'll get to that story next, but you can do something crazy. Why make something that looks so realistic and so production ready and then not build it? I'm actually kind of bummed because if they built this thing, I would be tempted to get one just to try it out. So yeah, I don't know, maybe Sony just likes burning money. I have no clue why they would go to this advanced level of development for something that's never going to go anywhere. But sounds like this won't be the last time we'll be seeing a concept car from Sony. But I'm even hoping that maybe like some company that desperately needs an electric car, like FCA, or I don't know, any other smaller company that needs an electric car to boost their numbers and stuff. I think this would be fantastic. Like Subaru, I mean, they're partnered with Toyota, of course, but if Subaru wants like an electric sedan tomorrow, boom, just buy this, slap some Subaru badges on it, you're good to go. Something like that I think would make sense too. Someone should build this car and buy the rights to use this, because I think it's a great design and I think it's a really good idea. But anyway, interesting to see that nonetheless. But Mercedes, they wanted to show what an actual, prototype vehicle is like. And there's a few others, like BMW built a pod, which I'm not even going to cover, but basically they just built a pod that has all their future infotainment tech and all this stuff that, is conceptual stuff. That's how you do, a showcase for technologies. Just build a blank pod, stuff an interior in it, and that's it. That makes a lot more sense from a cost standpoint than doing a whole car. But anyway, I'm going off of that rant. So Mercedes, their car is called the Vision AVTR, or Avatar, and so it's inspired by the Avatar movies, and so looks crazy and honestly doesn't seem to serve much of a purpose aside from just being really cool and getting people's attention at CES, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with doing stuff for fun, and especially when it's this far out, it's just kind of cool to see what Mercedes' imagination is like. And so it's got these rounded wheels, this very futuristic shape. There's even little bionic flaps that raise up that have embedded solar panels in them to recharge the onboard computers. And those little flaps are supposed to kind of be reminiscent of an organic shape, like hairs on skin that rise up, goosebumps, that kind of thing is what they're going for, I think. And so anyway, other cool stuff here with this. It's got ambient lighting that reacts and changes depending on the driving style, and it's got a controller to control the actual driving of the vehicle, but it's just for basic stuff, obviously, because it's theoretically fully autonomous and does all its own driving, but that controller stick can also be used to adjust the speed while the car continues to drive itself. So that's kind of an interesting take on autonomous stuff, is controlling how fast you're going, but having the car do everything else. Other stuff here is that to control the infotainment system, which is also pretty crazy looking here, you lift your hand and the controls are projected onto the hand, and then you just do gestures to do all the controls, which sounds kind of odd and problematic, but could be cool if it worked well. Mechanically, they say it has a 110 kilowatt hour battery that uses graphene in the battery instead of rare earth materials. And so they say not only is it sustainable, but it's actually compostable. So, a lot of people are wondering, what do you do with batteries once they're all used up? This one can just be compostable, and you're good. So that's interesting. Not sure how well that would work in real life or how cost effective it is. Clearly it's not ready for prime time, otherwise they'd put it in their cars tomorrow. So I'm guessing there's probably a cost factor here that's keeping it out of production stuff. But supposedly the battery can fully charge in just 15 minutes as well. Again, not sure how realistic that actually is, but that's their claim. But anyway, it's a fun concept, and maybe some of that front end we'll see a hint of with the new future electric stuff that they do in the future. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Another crazy thing at CES is Toyota revealed an entire community, like a mini city, that they're planning to build near Mount Fuji next year. And so it's called the Woven City. It's 175 acres, and it's going to house about 2,000 people, primarily Toyota employees, inventors, scientists, business partners, and even retired couples, they say. So obviously this is a car channel, not HGTV, so I'm not going to get too much into the houses and all that kind of stuff, but basically it's a futuristic community where all the vehicles are zero emissions and autonomous, and everything is automated, and there's robotics to help you with every little thing you need and all that kind of stuff. But it sounds like they're actually going to try and build this next year. Obviously it's going to be very experimental, and it's kind of an interesting idea, but we'll have to see how well that works in practice. But for some realistic and more near future stuff here at CES, Bosch has created this virtual visor, which fixes a problem that all of us have while driving during dusk and dawn, which is the sun in our eyes, of course. And so it uses this transparent LCD screen and a camera that looks at the driver and then figures out where the sun is glaring in your eyes and tints just that part of this transparent visor, so that it kind of blocks the sun from your eyes, but I guess doesn't block your vision. And so So I don't know how well that works, but sounds pretty ingenious. And if that actually does work well, that would be fantastic. And it seems like it's fairly production ready, because Bosch told Autoblog that while it's just a concept currently, they're talking with car companies already about bringing it to production vehicles. And if that actually worked perfectly, I would totally pay extra money for the advanced visor feature. That would be amazing. So a very cool debut there by Bosch. In some other visibility tech, Aston Martin has partnered up with Gentex, and they've developed this tri-view rear view mirror. And so it offers both the side mirror views plus the rear all-in-one spot there in the rear view mirror. And so it still retains physical mirrors as backups as well, in case bad weather dirties up those cameras, which is kind of a good backup to have, because other camera side mirrors currently and stuff like the e-tron and the Lexus ES, which is only available overseas, with those, you just have the cameras for mirrors, and then the screens are always down by the lower part of the A-pillar, which isn't a very good solution as far as keeping your eyes on the road and stuff. So I think this is a much better solution. You can keep yourself looking forward and just glance up at that rearview mirror to see all that around you, which is really cool. And sounds really smart. And actually, with the US laws currently, we're not allowed to have camera side mirrors and not have a physical mirror. So I think if they're keeping the physical mirror and you just add the cameras into the rearview mirror setup there, then it would be totally legal, I think, and be something we could see here very soon. And so Aston Martin did say that it's going to be available on future Aston Martin vehicles, but they didn't say which ones or when. But this DBS prototype, which, reminder, the DBS still looks so gorgeous. But anyway, it's on that DBS prototype, but my guess is that this is going to first show up on the DBX crossover to be a cool little high-tech feature to draw people away from maybe the Bentayga and stuff like that, possibly, and help the DBX to continue to sell well after its first year or two on the market, possibly. But we'll have to wait and see, but a really great innovation there. In some other Aston Martin news, they teased their new limited edition hypercar, the V12 Speedster, which is likely Aston's take here on the same idea McLaren had with the Elva that they just revealed recently, and Ferrari had with the SP1 and SP2 Monzas. And I don't know why supercars without windshields is becoming a craze among the ultra-rich, but apparently it is. And they also gave us some details on it here. It'll use a 5.2-liter twin-turbo V12 from the DBS, but strangely, it does less power. It's still 690 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque, but that is several dozen horsepower less than what you get in a DBS Superleggera. Only 88 of these are going to be made, though, and cars will start arriving in the beginning of 2021. So cool, and I'm guessing we'll see more of it here relatively soon. For an actual production car reveal, getting away from the CES stuff here, Lamborghini has debuted the Huracan Evo rear-wheel drive, which is arguably the best version of the Huracan in my opinion. Not only does it get this new front and rear bumper setup, which I think is the best looking bumpers the Huracan's had over the several they've had over the past many years here, but giving it the rear wheel drive is always a great idea in my opinion. And they've had rear wheel drive Huracans before, but not for the Evo version with this much power. So it does 610 horsepower and 413 pound-feet of torque, which is a nice bump over the old rear wheel drive one, which is 580 horsepower. And Lamborghini says, being rear-wheel drive, it delivers the most emotive, fun-to-drive experience in both dry and wet conditions, and even snow. So, that would be a lot of fun to drift in the snow, I'm sure. So, and I agree with them. Probably the most fun version of the Huracan, I'm betting. It's also 73 pounds lighter than the all-wheel drive version, so it's just better all around. But the lack of all-wheel drive traction does mean you lose 0.4 seconds off the 0 to 60 time. It's now, the 0 to 62 time is 3.3 seconds, but that's still plenty fast. So, I don't think anyone's really going to be worried about that unless you're drag racing or something. The traction control system has also been recalibrated, of course, to allow a little bit more slip in the sportier modes and stuff. And the best news here is that it's over $50,000 cheaper than the regular Huracan Evo. So these only start at relatively $208,571. So, I don't know why you would spend over $50,000 more for all-wheel drive. I think the rear-wheel drive one's definitely going to be a lot more fun. And if I were to get a Huracan, this would probably be the one. I'd probably wait for a convertible version to come. But yeah, awesome to see that. And some other somewhat related news here. Autocar has a new report this week that's talking about how the RS team at Audi is going to be starting to work on some new electrified vehicles. A lot of it is fully EV stuff, but there is some just plug-in hybrid stuff as as well. And so one of the cars they're considering is a new electric R8. Now, they did the R8 e-tron twice already. Neither of them were very successful, but the last one was like $1.1 million. They only did like 100 of them or something. But this new version, the idea, according to Autocar, I'm guessing is going to be something like a Porsche Taycan, using those mechanicals, but then doing it in a lighter, smaller coupe package, like the R8. And so, think of the performance of the Taycan Turbo S already, and then make that lighter. It's only going to make it better and be even more mind-blowing. And so other electrified RS models supposedly coming, according to Autocar, are an RS version of the e-tron GT, which is Audi's version of the Taycan as far as a four-door goes. I'm guessing we'll see the production version of that e-tron GT at some point this year, I'm guessing, because that concept we saw back at the end of 2018. So it's been a little while since that. So we should be seeing that relatively soon. They also talked about RS versions of the e-tron SUV, which is kind of a foregone conclusion. They're going to have a faster version of that. They're also reportedly working on the next-gen Audi RS4 as well, and that's where things are getting a little more interesting, because they're saying it's likely going to be a plug-in hybrid. And we just heard, a few months back, there's rumors about Mercedes-AMG making the new C63 a plug-in hybrid four-cylinder and doing similar power to the current V8, but going from a V8 to a four-cylinder is tough. And so not sure if the next-gen RS4 is going to do a similar type of thing with downsizing, but they just were talking about it being electrified. And so we'll have to wait and see, but if they end up going to a plug-in hybrid four-cylinder as well, then BMW is really going to be enjoying all the sales with its M3, which has already been promised to be the six-cylinder motor, no electrification really, and manual transmission is available in those that are coming sometime later this year probably. So that could be the one to get, while everyone else is going for the plug-in hybrid stuff, again, if you want that old school type of experience. So interesting to hear that report from Autocar. Also, website Patent Swarm has a little discovery here. They discovered a Ford patent this week that's showing that Ford's working on four-wheel steering for their trucks. And so this makes a lot of sense because, having additional maneuverability for a truck would be really handy. Supposedly, GM did something like this, 15 years ago, and it wasn't very popular. I don't know why, because it seems to make a lot of sense. But so we'll see if this shows up in maybe the next gen F-150 is my guess, or maybe the electric version, or both. Another little thing as far as patents go is AutoGuide discovered that the Stormtrak name has been patented or trademarked in Europe by Ford. And so Stormtrak, I don't know, since it was only in Europe, I'm guessing this is a European-only model, some type of lifted wagon to be like a Subaru Outback competitor is what AutoGuide is thinking. But the Stormtrak name could be put on anything. So, it could be for a version of the Ranger. It could be for a Bronco thing, although I don't think Europe is getting the Bronco. I don't know. But, it could be something like that. I don't know what is going on, or if it's going on anything at all. A lot of companies trademark names that never get used anyway. So we'll have to wait and see. But Stormtrak is a name we might be hearing more here in the next year or two. We'll have to wait and see. And the last news story this week here is Mazda has an update here for the CX-3 for the 2020 model year. The main thing is that they are dropping all of the higher trims, and there's only the Sport trim now available for the CX-3. But there's a lot of improvements, but it's only $250 more than the base 2019 model. But it adds all the active safety features, all the automatic emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, everything that you get that's usually an $1,100 option on the 2019s is now included in the 2020s at standard price. So already, if it was just that edition, you're getting a great deal because you're getting all this stuff that used to be $1,100 for $250. But it also now they get as standard auto climate control, rain sensing wipers, LED lighting, and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And so that's nice to have all those things. And that does, now that it has those features as well, it gives it a little bit more breathing room between it and the CX-30 because this new CX-3, still including destination for a front-wheel drive version, is only $21,685. If you want all-wheel drive, it is a bit of a jump up to $23,085. But a comparable CX-30 front-wheel drive with that select package, which is what you need, which is the not the base trim, but the next trim up for the CX-30. That's how you get CarPlay in the CX-30 and the auto climate control and stuff. Those are about $25,000. So you have roughly $3,500 between the CX-3 and the CX-30 now. So now I can kind of understand the CX-3's place in the lineup a little bit better, so that the CX-30 might not cannibalize it quite as much. But I still think that the fact there's only one trim for the CX-3 means that it's probably on its last year, I'm guessing, and they'll probably just phase it out eventually. But we'll have to wait and see. Mazda, at the launch of the CX-30, they were adamant that they're having both of them sold alongside each other, but maybe that only is going to happen for a year and then be done. We'll have to see. But anyway, interesting to see that. But yes, that's it for all the news this week, guys. Let me know your thoughts and everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.